All right, welcome everyone. Yes, why don't we, as we are going to wait for sure a couple of more minutes to have some more people joining the session, why don't we head over to the chat, which you can find to your left. And let's start with typing in, where are you joining us, tuning in from today? Where in the world are you based? All right, we've got Hamburg, yes, Lisbon, Montreal. Awesome. What time do you have, Rudy? So let's make this session good. Let's make it worth your while, right? Kaup, Germany, and Lisbon. Oh, so Jacob and Annette are both in Lisbon. Hardcore, yes, 7 a.m. All right, so that's what I call a butter morning. Awesome. And I live in Amsterdam. And now, thank you so much. Let's find the GIF in the chat and find a GIF that is appropriate for how are you feeling right now. All right, Jacob looks like he's excited, but he's not very sure. All right, Dana is obviously ecstatic. Let me find one for myself as well. Yay! Ooh. Celebration!
And then,
what is that? Is that
the first time in butter.
That
congrats!
You're in for a treat. I see that you found the gifts already. You found the chat. The next, it's like a treasure hunt here. Find the react button and react with an emoji, and then I promise that we can start. All right, so welcome everyone. I am Ana Maria, those of you that I haven't met before, and I am leading the awesome community project here at Butter. I am super excited of this because this is a special session today that we're running. Not only will our host share her tips for building trust with your clients, but we'll also touch on some main concerns that companies or your clients might have when you bring butter as your tool of choice for your project. So this session comes just in time for the launch of our referral system. And in your Butter dashboard, you will find your unique link, a referral link that you can use to gift someone 2 months of Butter Pro. And if they become a paying user, you're also getting a reward of $30 off your next bill. So the best part in this whole spiel is that you really have no limit. So if you are really good at referring and advocating for Butter, you can actually have a free pro account. How cool is that? Now, before we start, I do want to mention that the session is being recorded. It's going to be shared on YouTube and also with the Butter community. And now that we've got that out of the way, I am happy to welcome our host today, Dana. And Dana is the founder of Publicover.co and Co, which is an agency that helps service-based businesses combine design thinking with experience and content design to gain more leads and close more sales. Dana, thank you so much for accepting the invitation yet again. I think it's your second session for the Butter community, and I can't wait to see what you have in store for us today. And for those of you who are new to Butter, looking at Yuana, I'm going to paste some goodie links in the chat that you can explore later and even book a demo. All right, so Dana, this was it. Over to you. Take it away.
Awesome. Yeah, so we are a nice and intimate group here today, which is perfect because that means we can have some really specific questions and answers. And also I can kind of take off my presenter mode and just go into group chat mode, which is even easier. It's great. I love it. Not at all intimidated by the fact that the CEO is in the house. Not at all. Amazing. So I'm going to share my screen here. And you will see, hopefully, yes, better butter buy-in, which is so fun to say. And the tips and tricks that I'm going to talk about today are actually good for convincing people to use new tools, new methods, new ideas. They're slightly based in sales. What I do is kind of focus on the sales experience. So a lot of my work is in convincing people to try new things. And I think that this is such a great opportunity because what I've been doing for the last 6, 7, 8 months probably is convince my clients to use Butter as a tool. And so far I have 100% buy-in for that. So these methods do work on the stodgiest, stiffest, most specific type of clients, the most corporate clients, the most startup clients you can imagine. So let me jump right into it. So not advancing. There we go. What is buy-in? So we use that term a lot, but I think a lot of us use it synonymously with permission. And buy-in goes a lot deeper than permission. What you want is approval for the way you want to do things and also the trust that you can do it. So if you have permission but not trust, you don't have buy-in. And that's really important. Trust is a really important part of that buy-in. Anyone can get buy-in. You can be a client service provider like myself. You can be an employee. You can be a low-level employee, a high-level employee. Even a CEO, even a head of a company has to get buy-in from the people they support. So anyone really at any time is trying to get that full approval, that full endorsement, and that trust in what they need. And why do you need it? Because if you don't have it, if you have permission without trust, if you have trust without permission, it's not going to work. And I want to tell you exactly why. So in 2016, I ran one of my first sprints, and it was an absolute nightmare. Thumbs up if you're familiar in the reactions with the design sprint, and thumbs down if you've never heard of it before. Amazing. Okay, so we have 1 thumbs down. Yeah, a design sprint is just a really, really structured methodology for validating new ideas. And it's structured in a really specific way. And it's 5 days or 4 if you're doing, a different version of it. But it's 5 days, it's 7 people, it's very limited in how it proceeds, and it needs to happen in the context of 5 consecutive days, okay? So that's all the context you need to know how much of a nightmare the sprint is. First of all, it was 13 weeks. Not normal. Also, there were, at any given week, between 14 and 21 participants. We had 3 solutions, not the standard one that you should be testing. And of course, we had 0 validations. At the end of the 13 weeks, we had nothing to show. Oh, and it was on WebEx. This was before Mural. This was before Miro. This was before Zoom had really fully been adopted. We were doing this in WebEx. Some people called in. Some people were just on the phone. Yeah, it was the worst. So what went wrong? How did I get talked in to running a 13-week, 14 to 21 participant, 3 solution, 0 validation design sprint on WebEx? I did not have the buy-in. I defer to my leadership and my experience. If you only have partial buy-in, you can only deliver partial results. Here's a great example. Your client wants you to build a car that they can drive. But they want to take this out and this thing and this thing and this thing they don't really need. Is this car going to drive? Probably not. Probably not. If you run a design sprint, but you take out the communication, you take out the timeline, you take out the structure, can you tell your client that you're going to build them a car that will drive? Absolutely freaking not. Without their buy-in, your work won't work. They cannot expect you to deliver the results if they haven't given you the buy-in to do it your way. And this is a trap that service providers get caught in a lot. I know some of us aren't client providers, and we're going to talk about how to get buy-in as an internal person too. These truths are pretty universal. If you don't have the buy-in, you can't do it right. So how do we get the buy-in that we need to do the work we want to do the way we need to do it? I'm going to talk about clients first, but I promise I'm going to come back around for the in-house people. A lot of this stuff is going to overlap, but there's some things specific to clients, mainly in how you're selling. When you're selling someone, whatever it is, I use Design Sprint a lot just because most of my clients are selling those. But whatever service you're selling yourself as the expert. You're not selling packaged goods off a shelf. You are part of that package, and that's why you're selling it to them. So they're buying you, using your methods, and doing it your way. That's really important. When we're in the business of servicing clients, we're in the business of negotiation, we're in the business of telling them what they need to hear. We really want to make the sale. We really want to be flexible. We want to accommodate all of their ridiculous and stupid demands because we want their business. When you start packaging yourself as an expert and you stop negotiating your processes, first of all, you can charge way more for what you do. True story. Secondly, you get more buy-in up front. And thirdly, your shit works because you're doing it the way you know how to do it. So clients need to see, in order to make that decision, in order to get their buy-in, clients specifically need case studies. They need to know you've done this before, you've pulled it off, and that you've done it successfully. They also, unfortunately, need to see a very super specific to them example. For some reason, you can't have a client in the auto industry apply what you've done in the aerospace industry, for example, and see the parallels to their own industry. No. They need to see that you did it exactly the way you're going to do it for them before. They don't want to be your guinea pig. They don't want this to be your first time doing it. They don't want to be the test case. But if you've never done it before, how do you show them you can do it? You have to test it somewhere else first. You have to get that case study. You need that success story. So here are some places to try out new tools. Slack groups, peer groups. If you're not part of these, you really should be. There are people who do what you do in a group talking about what you do all day long. You're just not there in the conversation. It's so awesome, and it gives you such a great opportunity to learn and grow in your industry. Stop thinking about giving away your secret sauce and talking to your competition. Your competition is your greatest tool against your clients. Your own team. If you have a team, if you have a group of people you can practice on. We at Publicover & Co., we try new things all the time, and we have this really safe, protected calendar slot on Thursday mornings where if you have something you want to learn or something you want to try, that's the zone to do it. Everybody comes, we've all got coffee, and we're just testing things. It's a really safe space. And we've created a lot of things we can use with clients later. And then the Butter arena. If you're in the Butter community, there's a sparring arena. You can always find somebody willing to jump on a call, jump on a Butter with you, and work something through. You'll notice one specific omission from this list. Any ideas as to what it is? Nonprofits. And here's why. I don't believe that nonprofits are your training grounds. I don't believe that this is where you go to test new ideas. Here's why. Their time is super valuable and stretched. And just because they don't have a budget doesn't mean they don't deserve our best. NGOs can usually find a tiny little budget to pay for good work. And they're so tired of this shit. Literally everyone is coming to them saying, can I practice on you? Can I practice on you? Can I practice on you? They're a real actual business. They're not a pretend business. They're not a baby business. So treat them like that. They deserve your best. Okay, that's a big soapbox. I'm gonna hop down off of it and talk to you about internal buy-in. So this is for your bosses, your superiors, your peers, your team, your teammates, the people working under you. But first, there are a couple questions you need to ask. Am I ready to take risks and show leadership? Because if you're going after buy-in, you're kind of putting your hat in the ring and you're saying, hey, I'm here to be taken seriously. I'm ready to start on a path to leadership. I'm ready to get your buy-in, and I'm going to be bringing some big ideas. And you're also going to need success stories. Has anybody on your team or in your organization tried something out of the box, tried something relevant to what you're doing now, and it worked? Because you want to be armed with that success story as you're kind of going for your buy-in, as you're going for your permission. You want to be able to, and it's not going to be like, well, they did it and it worked totally fine. It's more like, in the vein of Dana's previous project, I'd like to propose XYZ. And then also, what kind of manager do you have? And this is, if we're going upward for buy-in and not down. But there are two types of managers. There's the good manager and the other manager. And the trouble with these managers is that a lot of us have both of them at the same time. Sometimes we have one and we move toward the other. All managers think they're the good manager, but most managers are actually the other manager. So the good manager is already out there looking for your next opportunity. They're looking for that next generation of leaders. They are invested long-term. So they're looking for your strengths. They want to nurture and encourage because they're thinking ahead. They know that their time is limited in management and leadership, and they're looking for who's coming next. They're already watching you. They're already ready to be impressed, and they're willingly giving you opportunities to shine. If you're not getting these opportunities, it's possible that you haven't let them know you're interested. It's also possible they don't think you're ready. The other manager is a little busy. They're task and productivity obsessed. They're buried in chaos. Everything is chaos. Everything is behind. We're out of money. We have no time. They're too busy to try new things. They can't lose the time, so they can't take the risk. If they waste even a day on a workshop, they've lost a day of time. They just don't have it. They're also probably not leveraging their team's skills to the best that they could. They're not really concerned with your long-term plans. They're not really concerned with developing your career. They might be concerned with their own, but I tell you, they're not going to get anywhere if they're stuck in this kind of task and productivity mouse wheel thingy. What do you call that? Hamster wheel. I got there. So for both of the managers, you're going to go about things the same way with a few substitutions. You're going to make it about them, not you. So I feel like I missed a slide here, but that's okay. We'll come back around. So what you need to do is treat them like a customer. So you're going to sell them by anticipating their objections, just like you would in a sales situation, just like you would with a client. Figure out what they're going to say no. Because if you already have those, you can already work them into your pitch and already address them head on. You want to understand their challenges. So if you're thinking about it from a user research standpoint, what's hard for them and what could your new idea, what could your new method solve? How could you help them? And show that big win, show that clear benefit to them. What's in it for them? What happens as a result of you selling these new ideas, of them trying your new methods? How does that help? If you treat them like your customers, and you're leveraging customer research methods, you're giving them empathy. And when we think about when we normally ask for permission, when we normally ask for buy-in, thinking back to your parents, right? You're asking, can I take the car? Can I pierce my nose? Whatever it is, you're not thinking about what your parents are doing. But the thing that the teens are doing, they're anticipating the objections, right? You know they're going to say, well, maybe, but you don't have a driver's license or you haven't practiced driving. You can anticipate those objections. We do it to our parents, but we're not doing it to our customers. It's very interesting. So I started filling out the empathy canvas for people I was trying to negotiate with. And this was a lesson I learned after that nightmare design sprint. So this is for, I believe this was for a vice president of marketing. And these are the things that he was saying. I know what my customers want. I don't need to do user research. let's wait until things settle down. You know, they're saying these things, they're thinking these things, the numbers don't lie. I need to stay cutting edge, but I can't take many risks. They're feeling competent but threatened. New things are risky. And what are they doing? They're reading other companies' success stories. They're trusting numbers and ROI over anything else. And they're emulating the behavior of successful companies. That's your in. If you can say, oh, well, NASA did it, Google did it, that's who they're watching, that's who they want to be, that's your in. How does a river carve a rock? It's so poetic, but it's true. Very, very, very slowly. It doesn't just blast through, right? So instead of asking one big question where the answer is probably no, you're going to ask 100 small questions whose answers are yes. And the way you do that is what I call the elevator to buy-in. So you have this really cool skyscraper, right? And you want to be up in the penthouse. You want to be in that dream section. You have to get into the building first, and you've got to go all the way to the top. You can't just enter the building up here. It doesn't work that way. So you have to go through all the steps. Can't take shortcuts. The elevator is the shortcut. So if your dream up here is a design sprint or an innovation project, whatever your big dream is, you have to abstract that down, 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 down to the tiniest little MVP, the tiniest version that's even still closely related to what you want to do. So, true story, for a design sprint, I once ran a 5-minute brainstorm. Just a little note and vote in a meeting. It shows the method. It shows a new way of working. It onboards people to a very tiny little version of it. You can take that a step further. So what you'll do is take it all the way up, build on it, build on it, build on it. Yes, you can do a note and vote in a meeting, no problem. Yes, you can do a brainstorm in the next meeting, no problem. These little quick wins get you just enough buy-in to get your next big win. You're not trying to get all the way up to the top yet. You're not skipping steps. You're going as slow as you possibly can. But the slow way means once you've built all of this credibility with the buy-in, you've got it for life, unless you totally blow it in the design sprint, which happens. Totally happens. So if you want to sell your client or your team on running a full workshop in Butter, or even more so, I want us to replace Zoom with Butter. That's a big ask. Probably going to be no. But if you're like, let's run our next stand-up in Butter, they can't say no to that. That's an easy, easy, easy yes. So find the easy yeses and just move them up the building. Buy-in from the ground up. You're going to find that MVP, that small version that still works, the proving ground. You're going to get your quick win. And the beauty of it is, if you don't get a quick win, what you've asked for is so small, people will probably forget about it. You can try again later in a different way. You need that case study. You need that proof. You need the success story. This is how you get it. They might not even notice till you're on the 4th or 5th floor. And then you can look back and say, look, I'm headed up to the 6th floor. This is what I'd like to do. Because I've successfully done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I can tell you that this will probably go well. And they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even notice. If it's your busy manager. Your other manager notices and she's really interested in what you're working on. And then you want to keep moving, improving. You want to keep going all the way to the top and don't stop. So how do you get buy-in for Butter specifically? And this is my team, and aren't they the best? I love them. All right, so we're going to recap this real quick. You want to anticipate their objections. You want to know why they might say no. You want to understand what they're going through. What are their challenges? What problems are they having right now? And you want to show a clear benefit to them. So, common objections to Butter. These are the 3 things I hear from all the people I try to sell this to. But we've already invested in this tool. We've already spent money on this. We've already done this. Security and permissions are a concern. We've had so many random drop-ins. What if someone views the video? How secure is that backup? Or it's not available on mobile. I want to be able to call in from the road. I checked these with Cheska and she from Butter, and she was like, yep, those are right on target with what we're hearing too. So I know this is not a fluke just to my customer. So can you think of some ways And we actually have experts, literal experts in the house who could tell us about number 2. Because number 2 is something that I kind of just gloss over. Security and permissions. Like, oh, it's secure. We'll just lock it down. Don't worry about it. It's fine. But yeah, what security measures has Butter taken in order to make people feel better? Does anyone from Butter want to say? All right, we'll come back to you. All right.
Jacob says we have a full list of stuff. He's chatting because he's in a co-working space, so he cannot. He's going to pop the things in the chat.
Amazing. I can't even see the chat anymore. Oh no. Okay.
Yes.
So then looking at, okay, so we've got their objections, right? Then we want to understand their challenges. So which Butter feature solves their problem? If you can think of a problem that the team or the individual is experiencing right now, and you can link a feature from Butter directly back to that problem, that's your little in. That's your quick little win, because you can solve that problem. That's the way we've been able to do it the most. We've found something that they're struggling with. We've found, for instance, that it was difficult to communicate with participants in Zoom. This was as late as last week when they're in the breakouts. And the breakout communication from Butter is amazing. It's so cool. And we were able to do a demo of that and show them that you can reach your participants. That got us the buy-in to run our entire design sprint in Butter, which was amazing. And then which features give them the win? What kinds of things are happening that will make them look really good? And in the case of my clients have clients. So the clients of my clients are the people we're really trying to make happy. So how can we make my clients look good in front of their clients? And that's a tool that we've been able to use to help convince them. But how you ask also matters. So think about asking your parents for permission, right? Oops, timing. Timing is super important, right? You're not going to ask your dad while he's backing out of the driveway if you can go out tonight. Isn't it weird to talk? Like, it's been so long for me, and it's so weird to talk about that and think about how you have to ask permission to do things. I'm an adult. And then the real estate tour. So a lot of the ways that we describe things to people kind of classifies as what we call the real estate tour. And the real estate tour is kind of, you're walking through the house and you're like, all right, this is the kitchen, and we have a living room on the left, and then we're going to go up the stairs. Up the stairs, you'll see some art on the walls, and then to the right is a bathroom. You're just literally describing the thing. So you're saying Butter is a really cool tool. You can chat in it. You have breakout rooms. You can have music in the background. You can set a lot of timers. That's not exciting. That doesn't make me want to use it. How can you get people excited about it? I think demos are the best way. But if you can make it just a fun story that you can tell them, if you can make it exciting, they're going to be more interested to hear what you have to say. And then relevance. Can you link it back, any of the features back to a challenge they're experiencing now, any of the benefits back to something that they would like to add now? And then I'm actually reading this book right now. It's called Never Split the Difference. It's written by Chris Voss. Yeah, everyone has recommended it to me for a long time. I'm finally reading it. Thank you. I haven't gotten through it. Actually, I just started it the other day. But negotiation, she's an FBI hostage negotiator and wrote this negotiation book. So what I've got, without the Chris Voss influence, but these seem true too, you're not going to present alternatives. When you're asking for buy-in, when you're asking for permission, you're going to ask for this specific thing you want. You're not going to say, can I run our next stand-up in Butter? Or if that doesn't work, I could do a team meeting. Or if that doesn't work, I could do this. Don't flop around. Let their questions lead to you saying, well, yes, there are other options. So if they say, for instance, the stand-up won't work, can you do something perhaps shorter? And you could say, yes, of course. I've also thought of that. And what I can tell you is that here's an agenda for a 5-minute meeting that we could do instead. So then they're like, wow, that's impressive. She's prepared a lot of alternatives. But you don't want to start just offering a lot of alternatives because they're not going to be able to make a decision based on that. You also want to have a clear plan when you go in to talk to them, but also a clear plan of how you will use the tool, how you will use the method, and what you expect the results to be. And then always hear a no as a not right now. Because again, could have been a timing thing, could have been a relevance thing, could be that you have the other manager and maybe later you'll have the good manager. Because the next time or the next team, you'll know more and you'll get further. If it doesn't work now, wait 6 months. Everything will change. Wait 3 months even. Everything will change. Try again. Don't give up. That's the inspirational end. So here's where to find me. But I would absolutely love all of your questions. And if you have a really specific challenge, I have a Miro that I prepared that we can work through it, but we can just see how it goes. Awesome. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So if you have questions or if you have comments or if you just want to talk for a second, because we'd love to hear your voice, you can just hit the, where is it? Oh, the Q, the finger that looks like this on the side that says Q, hit that and select which one applies to you. I would love to hand over the mic. I've been talking for like 30 minutes and no one has stopped me. Anna Maria, I want you to share something that you learned.
In today's session, thank you for putting me on the spot.
Yeah.
So I was left with a question after your remark on preparing all of the possible objections that you anticipate your stakeholder might have for the project you're proposing. And I thought, oh, what if I'm actually bringing in some objections that they didn't had? And did it ever happen to you to go there and say, oh, here's a list of things and here's why we solve them, and have them stuck on something as if they would have discovered that for the first time and be like, oh, I never thought about, but now that you're mentioning, that is indeed concerning. So I wonder if that ever happened to you.
Yeah, I don't pitch them objections at all, but I prepare for what they might say, if that makes sense. So I don't say, and these objections you may have, I'm more ready for them to say it's too expensive. The security is going to be an issue. And I have prepared responses to those. Because when you have those prepared responses, you can just rattle off. They're like, wow, she's really done her research. People are so impressed by that level of competence and preparation. They're used to being asked dumb questions, poorly thought through with shitty plans. Really, you can impress people very easily just by knowing what the hell you're talking about.
Right. And then I'm going to be Jacob's voice
today
as well. And he's asking, how do you pitch the value of Butter to your clients?
Absolutely. I have some fantastic testimonials that actually I should pass on to you that I'm using just kind of internally to sell. Yeah. So what we found is that by not taking people out of the tool, we don't lose as much time in between activities. So we end up saving a lot of time. By giving access to different communication modes, both through the emoji reaction, the chat, or the voice, we're a lot more accessible to different types of participants. And accessibility has been a really interesting issue. About 4 months ago, a friend of mine ran a workshop where someone dropped out halfway and she couldn't figure out why. And then later he contacted her and said, hey, I'm dyslexic. I can't keep up with the written things on Miro, and because you weren't reading through them. And this is something we had never considered before because we'd never come up against it. And so just trying to accommodate all different types of communicators, making it a safe place for people who don't want to speak or can't, in Jacob's instance. People who don't want to be shown on camera can still express themselves through building that persona that they can post, and the emoji reaction, the GIF, they're still present, they're still interacting. Whereas if you've got people in the Zoom, you minimize the Zoom to see the board, right? So you're losing people already. So you're missing those facial expressions. So there's a lot of things like that. But what we also hear is that the energy, because the tool is so fun and it's so different and it feels so, let's say, the anti-teams, right? that our energy stays better. And I think part of that is because I'm a really good facilitator, but also I think it's coming from the fact that people are really enjoying the tool and they're enjoying that constant interaction. You know, when you're giving a 25-minute talk, but you're getting emoji thumbs up, you know, that's really encouraging. And that's a very unique experience. So we find that people really react well to that. The cost is something that does come up quite a bit lately. What I kind of got pushed into as a provider was paying for the Mega Pro account for myself. Then my clients are using that because I needed the recording feature, because part of my contract is that they get to have the recording of it. Because there was not monthly options in the beginning. It was just yearly. That's why. A lot easier now. Some of us had to take that big hit because we were early adopters. It's fine. Not mad at you. Yeah, but yeah, does that answer your question? Is that good? Yeah.
He says yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So in terms of the pricing, for example, if I can share some insights or some tips that from my conversations with some community members, whenever we were talking about the pricing, I do discover, and obviously not a lot of people know the plans that Butter has. And sometimes when we're in this type of events, or we're like our super users, we do share the really ambitious things we're working on. But I still see that people are still seeing it as a Zoom competitor, meaning it's just a tool where I come and I'm in this video conferencing tool. Whereas Butter is so much more than that, due to the fact that you can plan your session in advance, and peek behind the curtain. That's going to be like not on steroids, like what's more than steroids. Like the entire planning pre-workshop experience is going to be in a month, 2 months time from now, a complete makeover, and it's going to be just so much more valuable. And the post-workshop, right? So how do I get my chat logs? How do I get my recording? Can I share that recording link with people, and so on? And I've noticed that whenever I start explaining these things, people are like, oh yeah, but that makes sense then. So I think that's a helpful way to look at what happens in the session. Might be similar, and it is similar, certain feature to other tools, but what happens before and after, it makes a huge difference for the facilitator side of the story. Absolutely
agree with that. Yeah, and that's something we've talked about significantly, where the participant experience is joyful, it's fun, but the facilitator experience is just unparalleled. And this is what we were talking about back in spring or summer when I first kind of came to the tool. It was like, this was designed with facilitators in mind, and so few of the other tools were. The issue that I've had is that people are bought into either Mural or Miro, and often they've had to pay for Miro for the thing because Miro changed their pricing. They changed their freemium limitations. I feel like that won't be a problem in the future, but that's been one thing that I've come up against that. Yeah, I know. I'm waiting. Very excited.
For a while now.
Very excited. Let's see, a little stingy with that API, aren't they? You can't say that on the recording. Maybe we should edit this. Anyhow, let's see. Was there another question, or there was another comment here? Oh, the security thing. Yeah, totally. Jacob, I do the same thing. I send them that link and it shuts them down. They're like, okay, that's enough information. Thank you. They're not really sure what they mean by security, just like what you've said, but they know they need to be asking about it. One of the concerns I get is, well, what if somebody finds the link and logs in? And I'm like, well, I won't let them in from the waiting room, so it's not a problem. Yeah. Cool. Any other questions about buy-in or finding the MVP version of what you're trying to do. Anybody want to talk through that? Challenges and convincing people, obstacles you've come up against. All right. Well, it's been awesome having you all here. I'm so excited to talk about one of my favorite topics. So yeah, let me put my contact information back up on the screen so you can see it. But please, if you think of anything later, you can absolutely reach out to me. I'm happy to help. Always happy to grab a virtual coffee and talk things through. That's where I am. Amazing. Thank you all so much for having me yet again. Always a pleasure. It's nice to spend an afternoon with you butter people.
Thank you, Dana. It was great to have you here and really insightful tips for our, well, whenever we're selling butter, but whatever we're selling, any projects that we're working to. So thanks for that.
Awesome. Yeah. Good luck.
And super good to see you, Rudy. I think you've joined the community like super fresh from last week. So I would be so keen to hear how you're using butter and how can we support there. So I would be very happy to grab a virtual coffee. And Baya, a pleasure to see you as always. And wish you all a great rest of the day.